Hola clase de Español 2, es tiempo de hacer capítulo 9, paso 1. Time to get started with chapter 9.1. There will be an extra credit assignment associated with this today if you'd like to complete it. It's not horribly difficult. It's simply to write 10 complete commands in Spanish using the structure that we're showing you here today. It's going to be formal commands, and there's a little bit of tricky information involved along the way. I'm going to go through the grammar part of it first, and the vocabulary afterwards. And you can use that grammar and vocab to create 10 short commands on a note card, make them complete in thought, and write them both in Spanish as well as their English translations below. Turn them in to me when we come back, and you can get your points. If there's anything significantly wrong, I'll point them out and help you along the way. So let's go ahead and get started. Asking for and giving directions is the title of this, but there's a few other things involved. So formal commands, both singular commands telling one person to do something and plural commands telling more than one person to do something at a time. Formal commands are used with people that you would address as usted or ustedes. These are the people like, bosses or elders or people that you don't know and you're trying to be very polite with, okay? So here's how to form these commands. Number one, using the present tense yo form, drop the o ending, and for AR and ER verbs, add an E or an EN. I know that sounds a little weird because they're AR verbs, why are you adding an E, and if you skip down to B right here, it says for ER and IR verbs, add an A or an AN. So it's kind of weird. It's like you're conjugating ER and IR verbs like AR verbs and AR verbs like ER and IR verbs, and that just makes it a command somehow. And in a way, that's right. So anyways, let me show you a couple examples. For an AR verb like estudiar, and you want to tell someone to study, but you were being very formal about it, you'd say estudie if you were speaking to someone in the usted form. If you're speaking to multiple people, like please study, por favor estudien, with an en at the end. Here's a couple of ER and IR verbs. Whoops, sorry about that. There we go. Leo, well, obviously the verb leer is to read. Leo is I read. So if you want to tell someone to read or don't read, you can say no lea or no lean if you're talking to more than one person at a time. Same with the verb escribir, which is to write. If you want to tell someone to write, you'd say escriba or escriban. And yes, as you can tell, they're the same in both negative and affirmative style commands. Okay, next. Stem changing verbs and verbs with irregular yo forms follow the same rule. So for example, the verb cerrar, which is to close something. If you, the yo form is cierro, it's an E to IE stem change. So it still follows the same pattern though, right? It's an AR verb, so it ends up being cierre. No cierre la puerta, don't close the door. Or seguir, which is to continue or to follow. It's an E to I stem changer, so the yo form is sigo. Siga derecho, continue straight. Verbs ending in CAR, GAR, and ZAR have some spelling changes. For example, verbs with a CAR have a C to QU spelling change. So buscar is to search or to look for something. So if you want to tell a bunch of people to look for something, you could say busquen. The C becomes a QU, and it's EN because it's an AR verb. Jugar, the verb for to play, has a G to GU spelling change. So juegue or jueguen, depending on if you're talking to one person or many people. Same with empezar, the verb for to begin. The yo form is empiezo, so empiece or empiecen. Empiece or empiecen for that one. So those are just some examples. These 5 verbs, I apologize, these are not in very good order. It's kind of hard to read it here, but these 5 verbs have irregular formal commands. For example, dar becomes de or den. Saber becomes sepa or sepan. Ir becomes vaya or vayan. Estar becomes este or esten. And ser becomes sea or sean. So those are your 5 irregular verbs that have or 5 verbs that have irregular formal commands, both the singular versions and the plural versions for each one. Okay, la última, very last one. Reflexive pronouns come before negative commands and are attached to affirmative commands. So if you're using a reflexive, like you're telling someone to sit down or not sit down, you put your reflexive pronoun in front of the verb conjugation as you normally would. No se sientan allí. Don't sit there. That's talking to more than one person at a time. But if you were telling them to sit down, it would be siéntense aquí. So you can attach these to the end of them if they're affirmative. But if they're negative, you have to put them before the conjugation. So obviously, we're going to need to hash that out and practice it more in class. It can be a little tricky at first. So take your time if you're doing the extra credit part of this, and hopefully we'll be able to point you in the right direction come next week as well. Okay, at this point, we'll switch over to vocabulary real quick. And here we go, asking for and giving directions. A la derecha means to the right. A la derecha. A la izquierda means to the left. A la izquierda. Al este is to the east. Al lado de is next to or beside. Al norte is to the north. Al oeste is to the west. Al sur is to the south. Bajar por is to walk down, as in to walk down a street. ¿Cómo se va a? How does one go to? That's obviously a sentence fragment. El cruce is the intersection. El cruce. Cruzar is to cross. La cuadra is a block or city block. Delante de is in front of. Derecho is straight. Not to be confused with derecha. Derecha is to the right, but derecho is straight. Interesting thing about that, when you tell someone to go to the right in English, that's, I believe the right word is a homonymic. For someone to be right is also to be correct or to be true, to walk the straight and narrow, if you will. Derecho, straight, or to continue walking right the way you are, as opposed to a la derecha, to the right up here. So that's kind of almost a homonym in Spanish as well. Kind of interesting. Okay, detrás de is behind. Disculpe is another way of saying pardon. Doblar is to turn. ¿Dónde queda? Where is it? It's kind of like the verb estar. You can use quedar in place of estar when you're asking where things are situated. Encontrarse is to find. And encontrarse con would be like to find something with something else. It's kind of a colloquialism. It's sort of an idiomatic expression. It means to find or to encounter, but like if you're out looking for something and someone says, te va a encontrar a la esquina, you will find it on the corner. Okay, so we don't usually say that as much in English, but it means it will be on the corner. We'll work more with it in class. La esquina is, of course, corner. Hasta means until. Hay que means one must. Like, hay que estudiar mucho. One must study a lot. Junto a means next to or close to. No se puede perder. You can't miss it. Seguir means to follow or continue. Subir por means to go up. Vamos bien para. Are we going the right way? Obviously, that's a sentence fragment. So, vamos bien para la iglesia. Are we going the right way to church or something like that? Van mal means they're going the wrong way. So, ir plus bien is going the right way. Ir plus mal is going the wrong way. We'll see that more in class too. Okay, I hope that this is very helpful for you. For those of you who miss the notes and everything at the beginning of the week, you can obviously use this to fill everything out. And this is usually sent with, there's usually access to the vocab sheet as a downloadable as well via Skyward or as attachment. But we'll have extra copies in class as well. Hope all is well. Ciao, hasta luego, y adios.